The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to create the same exact two rectangle and a text, just like we did with the function component. I'm going to create the exact same example, but this time I'm going to use class component instead of function component, just so you can see the difference and you can pick which one you want to use. So I want you to really be aware of both of them. What I'm going to be doing is I have a hello3 folder. I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it hello d3 class. Okay, and inside I'm going to do something very similar. Oops, I put it inside of the d3, so I'm going to move it to component refactor. Here we go. And inside I'm going to again create a file. I'm going to call it hello d3 class .tsx. Here we go. And the process is really similar. What I need to do, let's first, I'm going to export the default class and let's call it again hello d3 class, which I'm going to extend the React pure component. It's always better to use pure component over regular component because it's more optimized. It uses less hooks, so it's much better to use unless you need all the event for the component. It looks like I'm getting an error because we need to import that. Here we go. And inside it needs, let's just set an interface. So I'm going to create d3 class. Hold on, let me make it small so you can see. d3 class interface prop. Okay, and let's create it. I like to create it at the end of the file. So interface, we're not going to be using it. I just want to set it up so I'm ready, because most likely is that you will be passing some kind of properties in. And so I'm just going to leave it with a to-do comment. And then inside of here, the first thing we need to do is we're going to set the same reference, just like I did with the function component. So I'm going to call a reference of type reference object. And if you remember, we need to use HTML. It was HTML div element. And then inside of that, we're just setting it up here. Then the next part is in the constructor. We're going to initialize it. So inside of the constructor, we need to pass the props, which are hello world props. And for the super, we need to pass the props. There we go. And then we'll call the div this.reference, and I'll set it up to React create reference. This is just similar to how we did it before. If you remember in the function component, when we created the reference, we created and we set it up. Here we're doing it once, so we're doing it inside of the constructor. And then what we need to do is we need to set the renderer. So we need to, in function component we do return, in class component we do render, and inside the render we set the return. Hold on, I got a typo here. It needs to, and we need to set the same code. I can actually copy paste it from here. So we're going to be setting the same exact JSX elements that we said before with the reference. The only difference is here we need to call this.reference. That way it's going to be referencing the reference we set here. And this code, and let's do the class name hello d3 class. And this should already work. I see I'm getting some errors. Let's see what's happening. I'm getting an error here. Let's see why. It looks like I didn't close the class. I need to close the class. Okay, that's working. Now at the entry point, we have the hello 3, hello d3. I'm going to change it to hello d3 class. And at this point, we should just see, like we saw before, we should see the rectangle. Let's see. If we go back into localhost, here we go. So we got the 500 by 500 rectangle. Now the next step is we want to use D3 in class component in order to add our text element and our SVG element. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to tap into the component did mount lifecycle events that it's out of the React class component. So we're using the pure component, and it's built into our component lifecycle. All of this should be, nothing should be really new to you. So you could see all the events that we can tap into. So we're going to use the component did mount, and inside of it, again, we can use the select and reference the reference that we set with the current, and we can append our p element, and without breaking the chaining, we can add the text and put out hello world. That's giving me errors on the D3 because I need to import it. So let's import everything as D3 from D3. For some reason, the IDE doesn't let me do that. So I had to type it manually. Okay, so now at this point, it's once the component mounted, it should add hello world. Let's take a look. Refresh that. Here we go. So we got now again the hello world. Now the last step, we can actually use the same code that we used here. Just going to copy it from the function component. So now we have the hello world text, and lastly we want to add to the SVG our rectangle. Save that, and let's see, refresh the page, and here we go. So you can see it's almost identical. The only difference is instead of using use effect, I'm using the component did mount because we have the event lifecycle already set up on our class component. But the code is really simple and similar, and all of this should not be new to you. Now I'm going to do something a little bit drastic. I'm going to go in and I'm going to delete those two examples that I just created, and you're going to see why. So I just deleted everything, and now I'm back at the at my entry point. Now I'm going to show you something. Part of that must-have library, there is a library called that has templates inside, and it's called Generate React CLI. So if you look at the main folder, we have Generate React CLI.json, and inside of that we have mapping to templates. So we have a folder called template, and inside of that template you can see we have D3 class, material. We have all those templates that I set up for you, so you can be up and running with no time when you start creating your components. And I have other things there. You'll see I have a widget. I have other ones that we're going to be using later, just to make our life easier. Now, if you don't remember the syntax how to use it, if you go into source and component, I left you a README that shows you the syntax. So for example, if we just want to do a D3, just like we did before, just copy that. You can see the syntax npx. We're using the npm execute manager with generate react CLI library. Then we're using a component, and put the component name and the type. So it's going to look like that. Look in our terminal. So if we look into our terminal, let me put it on the top. Again, npx generate React CLI. Our component is going to be hello d3. No, it needs to be, I'm sorry, it has to be component. And then the component name, that it's going to be hello d3. And the type is going to be d3. So basically what it's doing is it's going into the template project, the template folder, and it's copying over the files and making changes. It's asking me that it needs to install the generate React CLI because I'm running npx. I'm saying yes. And here we go. You can see that it created 3 files automatically for us. Now, if I want to do the same thing for the class component, just this time what we're doing is instead of, it's the same syntax, just the type is going to be d3 class. And this time we're going to call it just like we did before, hello d3 class. And that's going to create 3 more files for us. Again, it's asking us if we want to proceed. You can install generate React CLI globally, and then you don't have to do that, but you don't have to if you don't use it that much. So now you can see it created everything we just did before manually. It created automatically for us. We got the hello d3 and we got hello d3 class. Now you can see our broken link works again. If we refresh, here we go, it's the same code. So if you look inside the code, you can see it's almost the same code that we created. There is a little bit of a difference here. There is a state added here, but it's almost the same code, right? Now there's 2 other files that you can see here. One of them is a Sass. So it's attaching a Sass file in case you need styles, and it's also adding a test file. So this hooks up into Jest. So Create React App is built with Jest, and Create React App must-have library, the template I created for you, also use Enzyme. So what we're doing with the test is something really simple. We're doing the first test is we just make sure that the component got mounted. How we do that? In the test tab, we just put expect that the component length should be 1, meaning that the component got added into our app component, and if that happens, that it's going to pass. Now if we want to test that, that's how we're going to test it. In terminal, you can just type in yarn test, and if you open up the package.json, you can see that we have a run script for test. We have run script for also E2E testing. We got other ones as well, but I just want to show you a basic one just to do simple testing. And so the test suite has 4 tests because there's other tests there for the app, for other component that we're creating, and you can see that it passed and everything went well. So that you get 4 of them pass. So you can see the tests tab that we're running, the hello d3, the hello d3 class, the app, and the app router that it's already set for us. So all of them pass, everything looking good, and you get it out of the box with this library. The other thing I want you to see is the same with lint. If you do yarn lint, that's going to run lint to make sure that your coding quality is in good shape. And while that's running, we're going to do another one. We have yarn format. So if you look at the project root directory, you can see we got eslint.eslint rc, so lint rc, that I already set it with rules that it will warn or it will fail in certain rules, and you can adjust that and set it however you want. Let's see what happened here. You see it's already barking about things we're not using. So if you look at hello d3, let's take a look. You see it's saying that we're using state here, but we're not really using it, so we can comment that out. And then anything else? No, that's it. So if we run the lint again, That should pass. And with the lint, if you look again at the package JSON, the run script also has the lint with the fix. You know, when you add the fix flag, it will, whatever it can, it will fix automatically. So you don't need to bother with this, and it will do it automatically for you. So you can also use yarn fix. Oops, it's still complaining. This time it's complaining of unused variable at hello, not at the class. Over here, you could see line 8. So if we look at line 8, oh, you see we have the use state that we're not using. Let's run it again. So it's helping us because it's making sure that the library we're calling our library that we're going to be using. And this is really important because you don't want your package size to increase because you're not using libraries. So it's this way it's going to package only what you're using. So running lint is part of should be part of your development cycle. So this time it passed everything okay. The same with yarn format. If you run the yarn format, you could see we already have the pretty RC that I'm already setting some rules if I want to use semi-quotes, single quotes, the tab spaces. So I'm not telling you what should be your standard, but you should have a standard and set it up here. And then you can use the run script to run that. And all of that we got out of the box and we're up and running quickly. And now we can really start creating our first chart.